Everyone, please sign in if you haven't.
Hello.
Thank you, everyone, for coming early tonight.
Kate, do we have quorum?
1 minute.
Just let us know when you leave quorum.
Definitely have.
What?
We're what? Anya.
We have quorum.
All right. How's everyone doing tonight?
Hello.
Good. All right. Everyone having a work-free last week of class, I assume?
No.
All right. Thank you. All right, so we'll start with approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes from last week? All right, seeing no corrections, the minutes are approved. So now we'll move into new business, starting with a conversation with Vice President Rue. Vice President Rue, will you please join us?
Hi, everybody. It is great to be with you tonight. I was invited to come to Student Government Senate meeting first semester of my first year. And here I am the last semester of my last year once again. So it's great to be with you all. I'm truly honored by the invitation. And I'm particularly excited to talk tonight about our partnership with student government combating sexual assault on campus. I'm grateful for the activism that you all have displayed, and you're holding the institution's feet to the fire to do whatever we can to reduce the incidence of sexual assault on campus. And I'm truly honored by the work that you've done to work with us by creating this resolution that I know you're going to vote on later tonight to formalize the charge and membership of the SAPSA Executive Advisory Committee. We formed SAPSA. We love acronyms in higher ed, you know that. Sexual Assault Prevention, Support, and Accountability. We have them in that order: prevention, support, and accountability, because they're what matters most. So prevention is the most important thing we can do. Every case of sexual assault we prevent is somebody's life that isn't thrown into some kind of turmoil. Support's next most important. If someone has been a victim of a sexual assault before they got here, while they're here, elsewhere, we're here to support students working through that kind of trauma. And then accountability, if there's a case that we can pursue, we want to pursue that with vigor. And that's, of course, the Title IX office. So prevention is everyone's business, but particularly the role of the Office of Wellbeing. Support is the work of the SAFE office primarily, and also the Counseling Center, and other folks that can play supportive roles. And then accountability is the work of the Title IX office. So again, I'm very, very grateful for our partnership. The work of the sexual assault, I'm just gonna say SAPSA, it's a lot easier. The work of SAPSA is multifaceted. One of the efforts that you all know about, that's maybe one of our most important steps forward, is a campus survey to truly understand the prevalence, any subpopulations that might be differentially affected, so we can gather that data. And that data only counts if we get a good percentage return rate. So I know that some of you are going to be invested in the process of making sure that other students fill those surveys out so we have confidence in our data, while others are going to help advise in the process. The sexual assault survey will be performed by professional survey response folks in a combination of the Office of Institutional Research and the Office of Title IX, Office of the Provost. So I'm excited about all of that. I know our time tonight is limited. I know many of us want to get to lighting of the quad. I'll stop there. Brandon said you might have questions for me, which I'm happy to take, and then I know we'll move to the legislation. Does that sound about right? Okay, great. So questions, comments, thoughts?
Okay, I have an intermission before we get to the legislation then. Sorry, you didn't know about this.
An intermission?
Yeah. So, as you all know, Vice President Rue has been here for 8 years. and this is her last student government meeting before she retires. What you might not know is that Vice President Rue is an avid gardener,
Oh, my goodness.
and that she has invested a lot in student leaders at Wake Forest. And so this is a magnolia tree. So she can bring a piece of Wake Forest with her and keep it at her home wherever she goes next.
Oh my gosh.
And this is a resolution we voted on last Senate meeting to thank you for your time. And then coming to your inbox later is a set of videos from the student body presidents who served under you.
Oh.
So it was really great. I reached out to Melly and Danny and Miles, and they helped me reach out to the older ones. And so I have a set of videos coming your way later.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. This is a perfect gift for me. You're exactly right. The symbol of the magnolia and something that's growing, which I'm committed to human growth as well as our flora and fauna. So thank you so much. It's incredibly thoughtful. And the videos I know will definitely.
Yes.
I got through the night without tears, so I'm going to say color wins.
Thank you to Vice President Rue. I know some of you just met Vice President Rue this semester, but others, she's had a really big impact on, I know for me especially. I met Vice President Rue the day I got to Wake Forest during pre-orientation, so I'm gonna cry now. But thank you for all you do.
Thank you all. Very touched.
We do have legislation.
Thank you. All right, everybody, it's that time. We will move into Senate Resolution 9. If your name is on this legislation, meaning that you're one of the people being appointed in the legislation, please step out. So that's 1, 2. Jackson, anyone else? That's it? Okay. Will the co-sponsors please come forward? All right, go for it.
All right, so today, as you heard earlier, we're going to be presenting Senate Resolution 9, which the formal title is a resolution to formalize the charge and membership of the SAPSA Executive Advisory Committee. As Dr. Roop said earlier, SAPSA stands for Sexual Assault, Prevention, Support, and Accountability. So we will start with the whereas statements and go to the therefore be resolved statements as we typically do. So we'll actually.
Whereas on October 26, 2021, the Wake Forest University Student Government passed Senate Resolution 7, Official Formation of Sexual Assault Prevention, Support, and Accountability, aka SAPSA Executive Advisory Committee, and
whereas Senate Resolution 7 resolved that a second resolution would be drafted and submitted by the student government president and the SAPSA committee co-chairs on or before the last Senate of fall 2021 semester, discussing a proposed membership list and enumerated goals in line with the committee charge. And
whereas gathering members from organizations across campus representing different perspectives and identities will contribute to productive dialogue on issues pertaining to sexual assault and violence and allow for the presentation of a unified student voice to administration. And
whereas the student government president and the SAPSA committee co-chairs received the document from the Wake Forest University Vice President for Campus Life recommending a purpose and membership of the group. And
whereas in consultation with the student government president, the SAPSA committee co-chairs formalized an intended purpose, charge, and goal of this executive advisory committee, as well as nominated students from across campus who would be valuable assets in furthering this work.
therefore be it resolved that the SAPSA committee will advise the president of the student government in accordance with Article 2, Section 8, Subsection F of the Student Government Constitution.
Effective upon passage of this resolution, the formal charge of SAPSA committee will be to measure the climate of Wake Forest campus related to issues surrounding sexual assault and violence through the implementation of university-wide sexual assault campus climate survey. B, to utilize this survey to advise on action planning and goal creation and around issues presented in the survey. C, to provide feedback on expanded prevention strategy recommendations. D, to frame goals and plans around forming an environment in which all members of the community have the support of the university and their peers. challenge the norms and allow for sexual assault and violence to occur on college campuses. And E, to serve as a formal bridge between students and university leadership working towards a common goal.
3, the SAPSA committee goals will include to provide feedback on recommended vendors for a comprehensive sexual assault campus climate survey. B, leveraging platforms to promote sexual assault survey to garner a minimum of a 30% response rate, which would be 1,633 students, to maximize the reliability of data collected. C, to utilize the survey response data to provide feedback and insight on proposed campus initiatives and policies aimed at combating sexual assault and violence at Wake Forest. D, serving as leaders within various campus committees to promote pro-social behaviors, safe social practices, and strengthening bystander practices. And E, contributing to the creation of an intentional environment in which survivors of sexual assault and violence feel supported and uplifted by their community members and campus leaders.
And 4, the membership of the SAPSA committee, subject to change as needed in future semesters, will be as follows: myself and Jackson as the co-chairs, Sakina, Abby, Lily, Cameron, Helen, Jackson, Sloan, Janine, Isabella, Taylor, Goddard, Elizabeth, Harley, Maggie, Harper, and Joe as committee members, and then Devin Burns and James Hunt as members of the subcommittee for the campus climate survey distribution.
So just to give you guys some context on that list of names that probably means very little, I'll start with Bevan and James. Bevan and James are both seniors, so they're not serving in a full capacity because they are going to graduate right when this stuff gets off the ground. That said, they've been very involved on campus. They're leaders of different organizations. Both are in Green Clinic and both have been involved in sexual health and sexual violence prevention efforts on campus. So we still wanted to include their expertise, at least for that one semester where the survey is going out. And then the rest of these students listed are from across campus. So we have some student government members in the list that you saw leave the room. They will be helping with PR, and then one is from Campus Life. We have some Greek Life leaders, some peer leaders who are involved in this work across campus. People who are invested in other advocacy on campus and have demonstrated their interest in advocacy work. We have some people who attended PLC and who built relationships and expressed their interest in continuing these conversations. And then we have representatives from all of the Greek councils. So that is important as well. And then obviously Clara and Jackson will be charged with leading this group of students.
Would Laura Jackson make a statement?
I think Ali covered it pretty well. We do want to highlight that despite these students being the ones on this committee, that isn't the only reaching student conversations we will be having. It's important that we continue to do that outreach. Obviously, the student government will be one of those facets, as well as through all the organizations that we have represented and not. Obviously, we can't have 200 plus charter organizations on this campus and non-charter organizations represented in a singular committee. But the hope is that through this list of students, we can do that outreach in this process. That's just something I want to highlight.
I also just wanted to note that, like was said in this resolution, not only will this be assisting with the implementation of the campus climate survey, but we're going to use the data that we get from the campus climate survey to create an action plan that is going to hopefully change the culture and challenge the norms that are being present on this campus, hopefully change some things for the better. So that, I think, we're going to move forward.
We'll move into time for questions. We'll do 2 minutes for questions starting now. Any questions? Ethan,
I move to amend the bill as written.
please state your amendment.
I would move that we amend the name for Abby Barimo as it is written to Abby Bermeo. I cross-referenced all these members, and as far as I'm aware, there's no student on campus named Abby Barimo.
I think there's just a name, that's it.
So,
Right. Oh, yeah, right?
is that correct?
It's Bermeo.
Oh, so you guys thinking in the wrong spot.
Thank you.
All right. So that's good. Any questions?
Is there a process by which, because I know, Claire, you're going abroad, by which, is there a mechanism by which there's a co-chair pro tem to take over co-chairing duties in the event that one of the co-chairs isn't on campus?
So we spoke pretty extensively about our plans because I will be abroad. And because Allie is the person we are kind of directly reporting to next semester, she'll be stepping in person for that role, but I will still be committing full time in terms of virtual presence in the group. And depending on the balance of that, I don't have any concerns personally over doing that. I will have literally nothing else going on. So I'm pretty committed to this. But if any of the, and I will be practicing it with the committee members. So if anybody does have an issue that rises, we'll follow back up about that.
I also do just want to emphasize, part of what became apparent while we were selecting members is that there might be just needs to have more people physically in person, and that's why we added another co-chair of the membership, so you'll see Janine is in the list. There's a key PR aspect to this, and so we picked one of the PR co-chairs to join the committee. And then prior to being on executive student government, I had the role that Pilar has, so we've been engaged in many of the same conversations over the last 3 years. So hopefully that we believe the tag teaming will suffice for this one semester while she's abroad.
Take one more question. Eden.
Could you just describe the relationship that the subcommittee will have with the larger committee, and if they will be involved at all with that larger committee?
Sure.
Are you referencing like the Bevan and James
Yes.
or the? So at the most basic level, Bevan and James will be assisting with the survey, like PR and distribution, but not with the rest of the FAFSA charge necessarily in a formal capacity. So because 30% is such an important number, and because they're so involved in these spaces and they're involved in different organizations on campus, they will be assisting with that regard, and would absolutely be welcome to offer perspective just as all of you are on the other parts of the charge, but wouldn't necessarily need to go to like the weekly meetings and be a part of that. I don't know if that's what you wanted to add something.
I'll just state that we have 2 members of the administration who are working with the SAPSA group that are charged specifically to work directly with the student advisory group, so that there's very cross collaboration.
All right, we'll move into debate and discussion. We'll start with 2 minutes for debate and discussion. Is there any debate or discussion? Ethan?
So I'm not necessarily opposed to this bill. However, I would like to raise one concern, which is that Clause 3 of the resolution specifically states that gathering members from organizations across campus representing different perspectives and identities is an important issue for this committee. However, upon further researching the proposed membership list, it appears to me that the vast majority of these candidates have basically the same identity. Most are white, most are from the East Coast, most are female, and most are studying some form of humanities or social sciences, be it political science or economics or English. So I'm just a bit concerned that the proposed membership list does not align with that charge in the resolution. But otherwise, I think it looks good, and thank you for your hard work.
So we're obviously understanding that is one of the biggest challenges as P&I co-chair. That has been one of my biggest challenges, and I'm sure it was for Allie as well in past years of previous committees. In terms of geographical location, that isn't something we took into account. We were really focused on what are people already involved in. This is not something you can jump into without previous experience having these conversations. This is extremely heavy topic. Sexual assault is not something to easily have a conversation about. And so having that background was one of the biggest priorities for us from the get-go. And so that was what we looked for first. The second thing in terms of diversity of the group we looked into was organization representation in terms of PR matters. Obviously, we are understanding that this is a majority white group. That being said, we recruited beyond that. And there are, in some instances, cases where people are not available and do not have the bandwidth to do this work, and we have to respect that limitation. I'm not here to pressure other people to be part of this, but we were requiring that you've had some experience in this topic to be able to do this work, so that's some limitations. That being said, members, and I don't want to go and name names and put that burden on them, and that's a conversation we'll have as a committee, but there are members who will be having conversations with certain affinity identities. For example, I myself, I'm comfortable speaking for myself, as a Latina woman, will be going to OLAS, having conversations with those students and that representative minority on campus about this issue. And there are students who've spoken to me about being comfortable having those conversations, but do not want to publicize that they may be having those conversations. And so that is why there may be some gaps that are not as noticeable in the resolution, but are more of a relationship that we've built, if that makes sense.
I would add as well,
Wait, Allie, were you recognized?
I want to sponsor. I would add that there are two main reasons why someone would decline to join and people that decline to join, aside from time considerations. And those are a personal experience of trauma that makes engaging in this conversation in a sustained and public way very re-traumatizing. And so we absolutely didn't question that when it was brought to our attention. Secondarily, on the flip side of that, if this is not an issue that has directly impacted you or might directly impact you, it's a heavy topic and it's one that not knowing how to engage with can become deeply uncomfortable and challenging if you say yes to that act of preparation. And for that reason, some people of different identities also didn't feel comfortable being the person on this committee. And so that is why some of the identities represented are more likely to speak, for example, women. And so it's not that the pool of people we considered wasn't representative of those specific identity factors, but it's the reason that people chose not to be a part of it, and we respected that.
We'll take one more person for debate and discussion. Ethan, go ahead.
Just one additional concern I had, and thank you for the explanation, I think it was insightful. But just one additional concern I had is that it seems to me like there aren't enough international students on the committee. I think Mother is from Tunisia, so that I think certainly is helpful. But it would seem to me that having a diversity of perspectives on sexual assault would be useful in crafting a survey. I was just wondering if you could comment on that and how you plan to engage with international students on this very important topic.
Well, okay, I really appreciate the point that you made, but to be fair, there are about 15 students on this committee, and one of them is an international student. I think if you were to look at Wake Forest student body and do a breakdown ratio-wise of proportionally how many international students there are compared to students native to the U.S., I feel like that's pretty proportional. We wanted to make a pretty robust student body, so appreciate your point.
I would add, yes, there's a very important subject to change as needed. So we were time constrained. This is something that is important and time sensitive, but we recognized we couldn't possibly have reached out to every student who should be involved in the period of time we had with everything else going on campus. So as the president, I'm empowered to make committees and subject to your approval to appoint people on those committees. And in an effort to make sure that we can have people when needed, we included that phrase in line with the Constitution.
All right, thank you, everyone. We will now move into a vote on the legislation. As a reminder, you can vote yay in the affirmative, wanting to pass this legislation, no in the negative, wanting to reject the legislation, or you can abstain. Kate, you ready?
Yes, and just a note to everybody, as usual, this is based on QR code sign-in, so if I don't call your name, just let me know.
Also, your vote record's public, so vote your conscience.
Abby?
Yes.
Anya?
Yes.
Aman?
Yes.
Armand?
Yes.
Ava?
Yes.
Camille?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Claudia?
Yes.
Connor?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
Emma?
Yes.
Erica? Ethan?
Aye.
Gabby De La Vega?
Yes.
Gabby Zimas?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Hassan?
Yes.
Jack?
Yeah.
Jackson?
Yes.
Jaden?
Yes.
Jess?
Yes.
Khalil?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Luke?
Yes.
Mary Elizabeth? Yes. Mason?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Pilar? Yes. Hassan?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Rory?
Yes.
Stella?
Yes.
Sydney?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
That's it.
All right, the resolution passes. Could someone in the back go get them so they're not stuck out there? Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Congrats, Jackson and Clark.
Congrats to you too, Ally.
Thank you, Richard.
All right. All right, so we do still have reports on the agenda, but I'm going to adjourn the meeting now. Hang on. We will send out the slides with minutes, so please glance through them. And if you have any questions, please direct them to the co-chairs or the exec member. Everyone, good luck on finals and have a great break.
Oh, wait, Tim hasn't out here.
Hi, Tim.
Tim and out. Hi, Tim.
Hi,
Tim.
All right, very quickly, hi, those of you I don't know, I'm Jim Wilkinson. I am the once former advisor of student government and will be back next semester.
Let's go!
You all just got an email from us, so student engagement put out a benchmarking assessment a few weeks ago. You may have gotten emails in the past. We are about 20 students for where we need to be, and you are a fairly representative group, so if you could all take that assessment. Shauna and I are planning a Amazon gift card incentive for this group only if you take the assessment in the next 24 hours. So you just received an email from me. Please take that assessment. Otherwise, we'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye, all.